very interesting to investigate or wonder about because there's so many different bands that just do that now or as built on that, that became the way to go. I mean, I can think of dozens of bands where instead of just looking for a CD, now I'm looking for something visual as well beyond what I'm going to get mass digested from MTV, So it really was, I think,
I felt like
unique.
MTV was so polished and so slick and so commercialized at the time. It was, you know, when Soul Kiss dropped, it was like the actual alternative. It was something else that did not belong to that
Mm,
universe. But
interesting.
it felt relevant in a way that a lot of that a lot of videos just did not.
Casey, welcome. You're a fly on the wall hearing us talk about.
Hey,
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 I don't know if I'm up for this conversation. It sounds pretty deep.
No, we
It
just kind of
is.
going on and on. So we watched Soul Kiss, and we watched Gift, and we were kind of talking about our perspectives from each of like our personal lives, how these things influenced us. And
Right.
what we were just talking about was how Soul Kiss, it was before the internet. It was a VHS tape. It got passed around, and it was for a
Right.
lot of us, it was our gateway into a view of like, this is what the cool, this is like this cool we don't know about. This is this thing
Right.
we're trying, like, we would love to be
Yeah.
a part of that, but we can't. And so
Right.
that,
Right.
that was super fascinating.
Right. It's more. It's like a secret almost.
Mm,
Everything's too much information now that we've lost the mystique, and it's really hard to like connect. For me, connecting to artists, because if they don't have social media, it's like you don't even know what the fuck is going on with them. But then if they do, it's like almost like too much information, and it's not as like sexy or something. It's just like everything's just out there, and um there's a lot of like, it feels like there's a lot of like rules to being famous now, so you can't really be yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
Well said.
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Yeah. So we've been talking about a ton of things we want to talk about, so we won't inundate you too much. But like, one of the things I'll start off with, since it's my series. Um, so you were so
I want to know who
influential.
everyone is first. Like, tell me like who everyone is. Can we
We'll
do
go
like
around
a
the
little
room.
introduction? So
Oh, absolutely.
so
We're a
you guys
bunch
are
of
all friends? Are you guys all like from the same neighborhood or?
heavy quotes around friends. No,
I don't
we
like
are
this.
friends, but like the cool thing is, this film series was in person for the longest time. And then when we went to COVID, we took it online, and that brought friends to us from other parts of the country, right? They couldn't, because it used to be just in my living room. And then people like Brendan and John were able to join when we went online during
Uh-huh.
COVID. And then we went back to in person and online. And so now it's just a whole mix of people. So
Right.
Jessica's my wife. Ethan's my friend here in Columbia. Will is in
Wait,
Columbia,
are
but too
you
lazy
John?
to
Where's
come over
John?
here.
Where's John? Who's
John's
John?
on online. He's
I
in
don't see
there.
him. Like he's not like on my screen. Is he here?
Yeah, he's here. John, say hey.
The
Say,
gallery
Yeah.
photo show.
Where is he?
John,
Oh, I see. Okay, I see you now. I didn't. Okay, the
and
names
so
aren't popping up. So
yeah,
wait.
Will and John are from here. Chris is from here. Dan's from here. Lauren's in Charlotte, North Carolina. My brother's on. He's in Chapel Hill, North Carolina. Brendan's on. Brendan, you're in Virginia. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yep. And
Okay.
then bottom right. I don't. Who is the bottom right?
I can't see your
How do I know
screen.
what Chris and Dan look like?
Yeah, they're mysterious. We don't know.
They're
None of us
nervous.
know.
They're nervous to meet you.
Speaker.
Yeah,
All
but
right.
we do this once a month. We
I'll just
watch
turn off
music
my camera
videos.
too. How's that?
That's
We
no.
so once
What? I know you. I just didn't see. I was like trying to kind of, because I thought for some reason you were facilitating it in a way where you would be this one talking, and that's why I was like, this guy doesn't not look like John. Yeah, I'm in the wrong. Okay. All right. I'm sorry. Okay,
I'm not nearly as ripped as John. John's totally ripped. I don't know what he's doing, but I need to get on his program.
Yeah.
too.
So anyhow, so let's get down to the nuts and bolts here, because I want to know about the big hats. So I know through what I've heard, that you were so influential in the stylistic approach to this band. And basically you either said, hey, try this, do this, or they even just saw you doing something and said, oh, let's do that, in terms of style. And talk to us a little bit about where your style came from, because it permeated this band, and I want to know what your influences were.
Oh my gosh. I don't even know where to start with that. I think it's just over, kind of being an artist and having a kind of a creative eye. I always loved to, do my fashion on a budget. So I was very into thrift shopping from like a really young age, like 14 years old. I bought, and back then you could get like all the really cool, vintage dresses that were very hourglass, and the pumps, and I just was able to really like kind of use that as like my template for my style. And and I don't know, I was like, honestly, I wasn't like a popular kid in high school. I was kind of an outsider. I hung out with the smokers, but I didn't smoke. It's like back then you could have like part of the school had like a smoking area, which absolutely doesn't exist now. But those were kind of my people. That's when I kind of felt like I was, I felt comfortable,
Totally.
I didn't hang out with jocks, and I wasn't necessarily good at school. I was very like, I kind of had a complicated childhood. So when I kind of found the smokers, I felt like kind of seen and heard. And what came along with that was like drugs and music, and just like being more kind of experimental with like style, and, being able to just express myself more. And so I grew up in a small town, and then when I turned 18, I had a boyfriend that had a band, and they moved to Los Angeles. And I wasn't allowed to come to I wasn't allowed to move to Hollywood. I wasn't allowed to move to Hollywood because it was like the band house, and there was no girls allowed. So I wasn't allowed to live in the band house. So I moved myself with $250 in my pocket. I moved to Hollywood, and I got a little job within the first week, and I got a little apartment, and and that just kind of started my whole journey into like discovering music. And kind of I was always really into music. I grew up in Bakersfield, which is a couple of hours from Los Angeles, so we would always come and see bands, and I got to see a lot of cool bands. And I was really into X and the Ramones, and those kind of bands. And so a lot of my style came from Maxine. And like kind of, I remember the first time I went to like a punk rock show, I was wearing white pants and a polka dot shirt. It was very new wave, and I was laughed at. Everybody just thought it was a joke. I was really embarrassed. But at the time it was like, oh my God, I'm not cool. I gotta figure this out, to learn how to love black, and
Right.
But yeah, I think I just was like so into just what was happening at the time, and And so I don't know if I answered your question, but it just kind of progressed. I was never a stylist. I was never, I didn't know where my art fit in because I was in survival mode. I had a rent to pay and I had a job, and you know what I mean? Like
Yep.
I had a car, I had responsibilities. So my art kind of didn't really start kind of blossoming until I met Perry, and he just kind of was like he was very much encouraging of my art, and I just kind of it just kind of happened.
Yep.
Was that
Yeah.
pre James, or was that SciComm sort
Um,
of time, or is
well,
that
it
pre
was
all of it?
I did meet him pre-James, but my creative input wasn't until the James days. When he was in SciComm, that was like somebody else's band. It wasn't his band. He was a singer. He wasn't allowed to, make as many decisions. That was one of the reasons why he left, because he didn't have like any control over kind of like, he was probably the last person they wanted to know input from. So
Were you shooting stuff like concerts? I didn't know if you were documenting shows and the scene while you were doing it, or if that's
no, okay,
the filmmaking part.
that didn't happen until um after James started, after Jane's addiction started, I went to I took a film class. I went to like the LA City College, and I took a film class, and one of my roommates, she was doing a lot of little short films, and I was like, I just thought, like I want to explore filmmaking. And then like Perry was like, yes, you're a filmmaker, that's what you are. There was at one point he wanted me to be a doll maker. He was like, woke up one day and he's like, you're making dolls, you're a doll maker, that's what you're doing. And I was like, like, I don't know if I'm a doll maker. I like the idea.
I don't know if I'm ready to commit to doll making.
I was experimenting with like Apple dolls, like where you like, I don't know if you guys know what Apple dolls are, but you like, you like you peel an apple and then you put eyes in it and stuff, and then you let it sit out in the sun. It gets all wrinkly like an old person.
Wow.
And then you put a body.
Yes.
Cool.
I should do that now. I should make Apple dolls.
Yeah.
Take it back to the old school.
Do you guys want to make Apple dolls with me?
Totally. Yes. I thought you'd never ask.
Mine would end up all black though.
No, but so it just kind of happened. I had like a little high-8 camera and just started filming shows and stuff. And then that's kind of like, so Soul Kiss, what you saw, that was my first kind of like film, I guess, the first thing I actually put together, and I did all the graphics for it. It's very DIY. I didn't really know how to edit. I had somebody help me with the editing of it, but I pieced together all those little vignettes and like shot all that stuff on with my camera, and that kind of where I got the bug to do filmmaking.
We were saying,
I will say, well done, because I know how archaic editing was at that time.
Yeah.
And for you to put something together that looks that smooth and has those transitions and things, that is very well done.
Thank you. It's cute. It's fun. And it really helped people to kind of see who Jane's Addiction was, like as a brand, I guess you would say.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like getting to know like their personalities, because I was there, so I knew kind of the Eric's bookworm, and Dave likes fish, whatever, like just the different personalities were kind of able to be kind of explored through those little vignettes, and I really like doing stuff like that. So
Yeah, awesome.
Casey, can I ask you a question about that? The sort of the brand for Jane's Addiction, and like in Soul Kiss, and then later in Gift. How did, like I read it like this, and I don't think it's right, but I feel like this is the way a lot of people see Jane's Addiction or saw Jane's Addiction was if Jane's Addiction is the brand, the pillars that supported the brand were sex, heroin, and violence. Like, I don't think that's right, but my point is what you guys really knew, like bookworm, fish, like, fashion. Actually, that was the other thing.
Mhm.
Fashion, heroin, sex, violence. How is that like wrong versus what you really know, or how is it right?
Well, I mean, I don't think you can really kind of lean into one of those, areas, but I think Soul Kiss was the innocence of the band. I think it was
Mhm.
before the drugs really became a problematic. I think the band was still happy to play together. There weren't a lot of conflicts within the band, nobody was rich. Nobody had, made it. There wasn't like any kind of egos happening yet. It was just, like I said, it's more of the innocence of the band. So
Mhm.
I think what you probably saw is a lot of like, my sense of humor and Perry's sense of humor.
Right.
We had like kind of like a good banter and sense of humor, how we wanted to like portray things, and kind of have that Spinal Tap kind of vibe to some things, where it was just like really absurd. And that was just kind of like the early days of just like kind of finding the humor in everybody's story, and putting together something that had like almost like a lot of inside jokes, or a lot of like things that just made us laugh, and it wasn't necessarily made for you guys.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I really, sorry, go ahead.
You know what I
I was
mean?
just saying, yeah, I was telling Ethan when we were watching Gift, that scene where the pizza guy comes through the door and you're like, I'm not Jane's Addiction. And he's like,
Right.
I love you. I love
Right,
you.
right,
I'm
right.
like, there is so much self-awareness in this scene right now.
Yeah. That's one of my favorite scenes.
Yeah.
Because, well, so, I mean, skipping over to that movie, we didn't have a script. There wasn't like we were saying lines. We basically had like a scene that we wanted to do, and this is kind of like how we wanted it to play out. And luckily, we weren't using like seasoned actors or anything, and I certainly wasn't one. And so, that guy, I can't remember his name, but the guy that played the pizza guy, he did a really good job, and he was able to kind of understand that, like, kind of like, just keep being clueless, just keep doing that.
I laugh every time I've watched it. I've laughed when Perry is saying to your Aunt Nadine, I'll tell her that you called or came by. I laugh every single time.
Right.
That.
And that's
so funny.
And that scene, that part that you're talking about, my mom's Nadine, my mother's friends, that was a good way to kind of just that uncomfortable feeling that like there's don't need to be, please don't use my bathroom, because
and in my mind, I always kind of imagine, you couldn't really clearly see, but I just kind of assumed that Perry answered the door naked. And so he was standing there talking to Nadine, everything obscured with this box of dishes. It's just so absurd.
Yeah. If you knew my mom and that is like that would have happened. That could have
right. Exactly.
But part of that scene that we didn't end up, I don't know what happened with the editing or just didn't work out, but Perry had piled laundry on top of me. Like my dead body, he had piled laundry on top of me, and I really wanted her to come in and use the bathroom, and like my foot's hanging out, and I cover up my corpse with the laundry because it was that chaotic. But we didn't end up going that. But that was like kind of like one of those things. It's like we should do this, we should do that, but we couldn't do everything.
Absolutely.
Can I ask then, like, to that part of it, it sounds like, okay, it's unscripted, but there was a lot of that to some degree is a bit of a social commentary, like kind of serious as well. Having that group, like a Narcotics Anonymous group, and like the realness of that, or having even at the end the racism component of that song. So like as hey, it's like, we don't really have a script, but there was clearly some intentional social commentary there, or some stuff that seems now in retrospect to me like intentionally we want to cover these topics, or did they just organically develop?
Yeah. Um, I mean, we knew what we were doing. We knew that we were pushing some subjects that were uncomfortable for people. Perry really pushed it even further. Like, he tells people that, like, we had real cops. Those weren't actors. Those were real cops that came to the house. We had real drugs in the house, and we were actually shooting drugs the whole time we were making the movie, which I'm not necessarily proud of, but
Sure.
we were definitely pushing a lot of like areas we could have ended up in jail,
Right.
But I think there's always that thing, where we were trying to show where so many, maybe bands had made drug use glamorous, and we were really trying to do the opposite.
It was not glamorous.
No, exactly. And it wasn't. And there was like a lot of like, that's why like the house was a mess, and there was just like chaos, because that's the reality of like drug use and stuff, is that, and like just making really bad decisions, and
And when, Casey, was that your actual apartment in Gift?
yes.
Yeah, because I was like, if somebody actually styled this out, they aced it, because this looks so authentic. I was like, this has got to be legit. Yeah. Okay. Very cool. It's super cool apartment.
And
And
sometimes
the chicken is underrated.
Sometimes it was clean. It wasn't always, but
right.
it's hard to like kind of explain, but like that was like the beginning of the end, where things had really gotten, maybe in the beginning when we started the idea of making this film, we hadn't declined so much. But by the time we actually did make it, it was bad, I mean, we probably should have been in rehab, not made a movie, but
Right.
like that was just the reality of where we were at in our lives. And it's weird how so many people just like didn't say anything.
Yeah, let it keep going, because there was creativity going on too. So it's like, why do you want to stop it? Yeah, totally get it. Yeah. And so talk to us a little bit about, you shot the Been Caught Stealing video, right? Is that right?
Directed it. I wrote it in a
You directed it. And so how did that concept manifest itself? Because that's a cool video. Obviously it got a lot of fanfare. It was very engaging. What was the whole idea behind that?
Well, okay, so Been Caught Stealing was a song that the Warner Brothers, when they put up, and that was their first record, like that was, put out on a major label. And that was the hit. That was the song they wanted to make the hit. That wasn't necessarily the song that the fans loved or the band even loved.
Right.
It was, it was kind of like a goofy, fun song. It wasn't really like necessarily that, deep or anything. It's definitely not one of the, it doesn't really represent Jane's. Like if you just went by that song and you listen to the rest of the song, you'd be like, what? Like, this isn't what I signed. This is not. But so I that was my opportunity to direct my first like big music video. And so I wrote this concept about stealing, and part of the song is about me. It says, my girl, she's one too. stuck a razor under her skirt. That really happened. These were like things that really happened in our lives. And, so I just I went and I found a grocery store. It's called Royal Market. It's in it's like West LA. And it was like one of the older grocery stores, it was like kind of like a cool vintagey looking store, and just kind of created these characters. And I wanted to have dancers. I wanted to have a lot of dancing. So, we did auditions, and we auditioned a lot of dancers, and just kind of built this whole thing. We ended up streamlining it. We only used that one location, where originally I wanted to do other stuff around different parts of LA, but it just got to be kind of too big. But
Right.
but yeah, what was your question?
No, I mean, you kind of talked about it, but one of the things you said that is interesting to me is so at that point in the trajectory of everything, when people were coming into audition to be dancers, did they know what they were getting involved in? Were they like, oh shoot, I want to audition for this?
No, and we auditioned a lot of different ages. We had a lot of older people, a lot of seniors, and we just had it was just a mixture of different personalities. And I just wanted people that had energy, that really could dance and have fun with it. It didn't really matter who they were, what they looked like. The guy that played the main character that dresses in drag and puts on the fake pregnancy thing, he did not know anything about his what he was going to be doing until he showed up.
That's great. That makes it better, right?
It captures that sort of sense of humor, and this way that the music and the videos kind of capture this kind of, it's scary and kind of grotesque at times, but really funny at the same time. It's sort of dangerous. All of it kind of lives in all of those spaces simultaneously, which is why why I think we were all drawn to Soul Kiss. It felt dangerous. I mean, it felt like something was going to go off the rails at any minute. And I think Gift also felt like that. Also, it kind of it towed the line between all of those kind of things at the same time: funny, scary, and dangerous. And
it was a hard to work with professionals when we worked, because they didn't like how we were doing things. It didn't fit into that box of okay, you do it this way and you have this, and there's a schedule, and you can't just shoot this and then go shoot that. You got to do all these things in a certain timeline and stuff. And so it did make people kind of mad. We had a couple of producers quit on us for Gift. And because it was just too crazy. They didn't want to put their name on that.
Yeah.
That could have maybe ruined somebody's career. And so we had, a lot of conflict that happened. But even just shooting that music video, it just, we would change our mind halfway through a scene and decide we wanted to do it a different way or something. And Perry was really good at kind of controlling people and convincing them that he would just be so his ideas and his passion were just so big that you would just be okay, whatever you want, and so but with interesting thing with Being Caught Stealing, that music video was really important to me, because it was my way of proving myself as an artist.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I had a lot writing on it. And Perry was on tour when I was editing that. And when I sent him the rough edit, he basically said, "This is the worst video I've ever seen. It's horrible."
Wow.
And ruined my career.
Wow. I wouldn't have expected that at all, considering how it played out.
Yeah, exactly. So then I had to do some fancy dancing around, like figuring out like why it's good, what, you know, convincing him basically that it was really good and that
Right.
he's got to trust me. But I think it was
That's
more
right.
a control thing because he didn't get to do it himself.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sure. Yeah.
You know how guys can be.
That's what I was about to say. Like I was looking up to see what it had won.
That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah. Kind of 90s campy.
Kicked it off. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah,
Band
we were
playing. I don't know if you know bands playing, Casey. I was turned on to it. I forget who sent
No,
me
I
the.
don't know. I'll check it out.
They are very complimentary of you, and I agree with all of it. They actually go into a point whereby they say that you are in a way you were the artist, and Jane's Addiction was the medium. Do you see what I mean? Like you were injecting your creativity into them as a medium, almost like as they were your canvas, and they're very complimentary. And I was like, and as they were talking about it, I was like, yes, this all makes sense to me. So it's very, very complimentary. And I recommended it to John too to listen to. It's really cool.
I
we were
will.
talking before you guys came on about how with alternative music it was the revolution of change to like the branding, and how alternative music became very video centric, and
That's right.
how their styles and how they were representing themselves became almost as important as the music, and where before it had been a music, everybody was all about the music. And I was just curious as to the pressure you felt, like trying to make sure either the video doesn't outshine the song, or where you come up with like, okay, this fits that genre, or this artist, even for like say directing your daughter's video, you want to make sure it fits her vision and the pressure that must
Yeah.
put on you.
Yeah. It was oh gosh. Yeah, I can't remember. Yeah, it was a college, it's a big journalism award. I can't remember the name of the award now. It's been like 2 months or something.
Yeah. And the video and the thing you just dropped, we were following that. Tell us a little bit about that video, like the concept behind it. Like just to
Video are we
know if
talking
you
about
know
right now? What are we talking about?
the concept of your daughter's video that you directed.
Takeover. Looking up something. So that so then probably the parallels between like working with my daughter and working with Perry is that I deeply love both of those people. So I can create around the love emotion, and that's inspiration, so it's very personal. So it was wait, hold on a second. It was the first place for the creative video category at the fall conference of the College Media Association in Washington, DC. And awesome. It's like for student work across the nation. So I beat out on a bunch of big college. So that was, just working with Poppy, and it's really a difficult time for a young artist. There's not a path to success.
Yep.
And so I wanted to just do something, to to help support her, because you know, when you're an artist and you don't have the financial means to pay for like a big marketing, you know, team and all that stuff that goes with success nowadays, you know, so it was just, I wanted to do this like beautiful, you know, I wanted her to be like a Kate Bush or something, and just have this like really like or a Bjork or something, like just have this fantasy kind of fun beauty. It had to be it had to be, I did it at Griffith Park with no permits or anything. Like everything was done like really DIY. Like I did all the styling. She wore a dress that I own, you know. Yeah, you know, I just did everything, all the vignettes, everything was all done by me and a couple of her friends that were like who are artists and very creative people, you know. So we just all came together, and you know, I made a deck, and I kind of put together like my idea, having this kind of surreal tea party, and just, you know, built that story. And so, but yeah, it was just a labor of love.
Yeah, super cool, and it paid off. I mean, you guys are already getting noticed for it, so that's awesome.
Yeah, I'm gonna do another one for her too. I also paid for that. I self-funded that.
Nice.
So.
It looks great.
And then John did the graphics on it for me. He did some animated graphics, which made it really, really super special.
Yeah,
Croft.
John.
Yeah.
Nice.
So
Nice work.
yeah. So that's why I'm here, because I'm returning the favor.
There you go.
We appreciate
That's
it.
right. We definitely appreciate it. And we're not going to hold you up any longer, Casey, but if there's anything else you want to say to like this group of folks that are just hanging out and have watched the things we've seen, is there anything else you'd want to add before we go?
I'm just so grateful. You guys made me feel really, really good. I really appreciate a lot of your feedback.
Absolutely.
It's nice to be recognized, you know.
Yeah.
You've made us feel good since the 80s and everything you've done all the way up till this video we just talked about. So thanks so much. I really appreciate you taking the time out to meet with us and talk about everything you've done. And
really appreciate it.
absolutely. Do it, John. Do it, John. Promo it.
Oh gosh, you don't have to be a stranger. There's a lot of, well, because a lot of the Crawford family would friend me. They're from Crawford Broadcasting. They're the Christian like radio broadcasters, so they're all like crazy like evangelical Christians. So I don't talk to all of them all the time, but yeah, I thought he was one of them. All right.
Thanks so much. Take care. Guys, we've got next month, so we don't need to roll. Take care.
Okay.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for making time. That was awesome.